Hello, good evening, everybody, or good morning, wherever you listen to us. I'm going to wait for 30 more seconds or minutes so, and then we're going to start our presentation today on the future of SAP automation from slow to hyperflow. So I'm just waiting another half minute or so to let everybody join. So thank you all for being here, for having me as well. My name is Bernd Engist. I'm the CTO of Avantra, and I'm happy to guide you our presentation today on the future of SAP automation, as I said before, from slow to hyperflow. But let us get started. Before we begin, I'd like to give you a little introduction on what the term automation actually means. We believe that's quite interesting. So what is automation? And we've got several statements here. Remarkably is that the first and the second one, you will always see minimal human intervention. So automation is about reducing human intervention, right? It certainly has to deal with creating technologies, applications, and everything. So that's here from Technopedia. Another example is a term for technology applications where human input is minimized, a pretty similar explanation from taken from IBM. And last but not least, the creation of application of technology monitor and control the production and delivery of products and services. We at Avantra like this, of course, because monitoring is certainly where our journey started 20 years ago. Good. Now, if we look a little bit closer to all these things here, check this out. So at the history of automation, right, we see it all began, certainly, we all know, yes, maybe a lot of you have already seen these very early tools in the museum, right? And then we've seen the small machines. Reinventing the wheel is a common saying, right? Has already been invented many years ago. Remarkably, I believe, is the term automatones, so the Greek term. By the way, my 13-year-old boy most recently told me that he wants to take an old Greek course in his school instead of something to do with science and technology. And I was a bit surprised because I would like to see him doing science and technology. But a little bit later, I thought about it. Hey, when does he have ever the opportunity to study old Greek again? So yeah, well, go for it. You can still learn science and technology your whole life, but maybe not old Greek. So a little note from myself. And the last, the watermill you see on the last picture here, I think that's pretty nice because it very much looks like where I'm from. I'm pretty close to the Black Forest in Germany, and we have quite a lot of these watermills in the Black Forest. So if we go forward, you see the invention of the steam machine, certainly industrial revolution was a lot of automation, of course. And then we see the Juggernaut loom, first machine to interchangeable punch cards. We see Charles Babbage. Actually, he is supposed to be, well, some people say he's supposed, or say he's the inventor of the computer. In between 1837 and 1946, as well, Alan Turing, very notably, he made the theory around this and certainly around this automation. Cracking the Enigma code in Second World War. And 1941, Konrad Zuse, he's supposed to have constructed the first digital computer in 1941, just in between, right? Remarkably as well, 1946, the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on AI. So the very beginning of where this term has actually been used is quite some time ago now, yeah? So if we fast forward the next 66 years, what do we see here? Moore's law, right? Me as an electrical and electronic engineer certainly need to talk about Moore's law. So he it's not actually law. It's something he was saying, a statement that within 2 years, the amount of transistors on a microchip will double. So every 2 years, and so far we see he's right. And even if we now see we're now at 5 nanometers process, the 3 nanometer process in semiconductors will be available maybe next year or 2024. That depends. But we see as well what happens if we look at the M1 or Ultra from Apple, right? A huge amount of cores being then on one chip because the structure sizes are so small. So we still see a lot of computing power involvement. And this actually is, I think, one of the very drivers in what we see in the latest decade, this explosion of computing power over the last 20 years, which helped us to create these incredible, phenomenal computer software and running on very fast machines, right? 1980, Edward Feigenbaum introduced the expert system. Very interesting. And 1997, first time where IBM's Deep Blue computer, and including the software that defeats world chess champion Garry Kasparov, very notably, I believe. 2011, Apple introduced Siri, so the first digital assistant being controlled by voice. Most remarkably as well, I personally use it every day. Siri put milk on my shopping list, for example. I use it every day because it's really convenient. And later on, we will have it on a slide about learning and relearning the basics. This is something actually we have to relearn. It will be on a later slide, but it just pops to my mind right now. And if we see today, these categories of industries, healthcare, mobility, finance, education, business, and social media, we see that AI is basically everywhere. So it's in each business, and therefore we see a lot of demand on experts being able to build AI-driven software solutions, right? So these people can basically choose their employer quite freely, because all the industries are looking into how can they apply AI to their business. Let me move on here. So we see, artificial AI and ML and all these things around, it's not a concept anymore, right? And I can very much think about when I studied electronic engineering in the 90s, that in Germany they were complaining that others, most notably in Japan, where they're applying fuzzy logic and things already into their products. And in Germany they were discussing, I can still recall these complaints from some people, but nowadays we see it everywhere, right? And simple task automation, we see robotic process automation, RPA, and products as well, where you can make this RPA happen in your industry or in your application quite easily. Now, if we look at back, this all, what does it actually mean? If you summarize what we've seen so far, right? What does it actually mean? We have existing resources, human capital, humans, right? We have knowledge, and what we create out of this is real value. So we reduce the human effort in all these interactions, and we create freedom, and especially we take away monkey work, right? So we can really engage in higher value tasks with many of these individuals taking away manual work. Now it's interesting, since all the time, whenever artificial intelligence existed, there were always people saying it's not good, we take away work for people, we take away things. And so far it's not been true. We'll be on the next slide, but first look at it, what's next now, right? First of all, we're going to complement and even substitute human effort. This is what automation is supposed to do, right? Beginning from Industrial Revolution up to now, where we maybe automate a call center, or where you already have chatbots and all the kind of stuff to do, for example, support services. Traditional roles will change, that's pretty sure. Yeah. So we see a lot of investment as well in re-educating people, being able then to provide or to work with computerized systems or even to build automations. That's very important. Learning and relearning the basics means actually you used the phone maybe in the 80s, right? It was a phone. It has some 9 buttons on it. You dial the number. Here's your connection. Now with an iPhone or so, in the very beginning, if we look at the first iPhone was launched 2007, right? Now we are the 13th generation, and in the beginning they wouldn't dare that you had to learn gestures and how to swipe up. There was a button, a home button, that now everybody knows. Okay, I need to swipe up with my thumb to go back to the home screen. These are actually, you have to relearn some things as well. But coming back to AI, for example, in interacting with devices like Google or Alexa or Siri, it's not much to learn, but certainly it's something new for some people here. The pace of change we see accelerating since years, right? So we see these platforms being able to build stuff. We see that, for example, AWS, right, bring one service after each other to the market. They are the leader in providing services. I think that's pretty notably how many services they create in a very short time. The outcome is very, for us humans, right, is as well their companies. They, with automations, they can let robots or devices work where previously humans have been really put into danger because of terrible working conditions, right? This has now changed as well, right? So now, as I said, whenever we looked at automation throughout the years, there has been this people pushing back and saying, hey, automation will kill jobs. We will not have enough jobs anymore for these people. So far, we can say not quite true. So all what we see in computer industry, that many jobs has been created as well due to automation, due to technology. However, I want to share a statement, and this was 2016, where the CEO of Siemens, Mr. Käser, he was saying, we need to start to think about an unconditional income. We're not having a political session here, no worries, right? But I think if such an industry leader like the CEO of Siemens is saying in a very public manner, we should start to, from a social society, we should start to think about conditional income because of automation in the future, right? That's an interesting statement, I believe. Something to really watch and think about in the future. Okay, so what do we need to build all these fancy automation, or to deliver automation in the digital transformation we see throughout the businesses, right? AI-driven algorithms, AI and machine learning go hand in hand, right? Of course, event-driven software architecture, not that new. Was a little bit surprised it comes up here. Robotic process automation. Why should you have something type in or fill in sales order? So this is something you can all do with RPA, right? Business process management, pretty clear. And then platforms and technologies, you see low code, no code. I do not have to call them out here. You can as well see it on the slide. And the challenges are pretty obvious. I think the most important challenge on an automation journey are resources. So human resources, people actually being able to build automations. Yeah, there's so many platforms out there. Ansible, Pulumi is one, Chef, Puppet, Avantra, certainly with our own automation engine. And we believe that as well, you might have use synergy between different systems, right? And there's certainly integration. APIs are very important, that you can combine several automation systems. Usually using one size fits all will not work in an automation journey. Yeah. And challenges certainly as well, try it out. Never be afraid of failing. So rapid prototyping is definitely something we can recommend here. Good. Let me move on to not lose so much time. So embracing hyperautomation. What do we now understand of the term hyperautomation? Hyperautomation to get to the solution of automation success, right? So hyperautomation, we believe that hyperautomation is the solution to all these challenges we've seen before. And let us have a look what technology researchers like Gartner say for top strategic technology trends for 2022. And you see a hyperautomation, right? What do they understand in hyperautomation? Is a business-driven approach to identify that and automate as many businesses and so forth. It requires orchestrated use of multiple technologies and platforms. We will see this in another slide, what they believe is all included in this term, hyperautomation, right? And here, I'm very happy. Yeah, you see task automation, process automation, business operations, event processing, conversational UX, and intelligence, of course, right? We at Avantra, we want exactly build this into our product you see here, right? So here we see this virtual assistant. I can, believe me, I'm really open and honest here. We created this term internally in our roadmap, even before Gartner came up with this slide, right? Because we are thinking as well in our own product journey about a virtual assistant. A virtual assistant who you can ask, hey, is everything all right with my SAP landscape? And the virtual assistant then will come back to you and say, from performance, it's everything all right. But we see a security issue, there's the latest SAP hot news which needs to be applied. Do you want me to run this automation to apply maybe a node or do a current upgrade during nighttime, right? I'll talk about this a little later. So this is really something we have on our roadmap. Intelligence, AI, and machine learning. We've been integrating machine learning algorithm as well. So we call it for our AI-driven predictive analysis in the last release, which very much helped to get away from false positives. So we could then identify, okay, there's a short peak, for example, in a resource-driven check like CPU load, but our intelligent and machine learning algorithms, it will go down again because we have the historic data, and these algorithms are now much smarter with a self-trained model and can tell you, okay, we can put the severity down. It will not be serious, so no false positive here. Let me continue right now. Hyperautomation, again, machine learning, artificial intelligence, event-driven software architecture, business software, process management, package software. What are we doing with these technologies? We build a framework with this bouquet of technologies, right? We can achieve holistic approach to automation, optimize efforts, save time and efforts, fuels innovation, and so on. Democratize technology and speed up digital transformation efforts. And this is the outcome, basically, of these hyperautomations. These are the advantages. And the biggest benefit of hyperautomation is, of course, creating time, valuable time for teams which do not have to do manual work anymore, which can be taken over by software, by a machine, by an algorithm. So this is basically, it's our human benefit that we have more time to create valuable stuff and be creative. Yeah, time to build, actually. Yeah, here you've just you've got this in writing what I've just saying, being creative, innovative, and deliver value. Right, this is the number one and biggest outcome. Certainly the business stuff as well, but we believe this is the best outcome here. Now let us have a quick look at Avantra in detail here. What are we doing? What does hyperautomation means to Avantra, right? So what is Avantra? Sorry, a little bit lengthy here, right? we do automation foundation, and especially for SAP operation teams. And SAP operation teams are these poor guys, right? If everything is all right, nobody takes care for SAP operations. But if something fails, right, and we see this day in, day out, everything fails all the time, even SAP, which is enterprise-grade software. We help them to control and automate these mission-critical environments, legacy environments, but as well, certainly most recent S4HANA deployments wherever you go. And with this automation, we release capacity from the drag, and you will see this on the next slide, right, where we take away the time to manage this stuff, and so this time can then be invested to enable this hyper automation success. So we are basically creating time to do other stuff. Avantra, in a very quick overview, what is Avantra? Observe automation. So that's previously called monitoring, which is nothing else than observing and automating observing. We like this term much more. Engage, Avantra has a lot of integrations to third party. Most notably ServiceNow. We have a certified ServiceNow Service Graph integration. We even bring in security nodes and everything into the ServiceNow CMDB. It's Service Graph is more than the CMDB, but anyway, we bring the SAP tribal knowledge to ServiceNow. For example, this is just one example of many here. And certainly act, which means do something, change something in the system to fix an issue, right? To update something. Most lately, we've seen a lot of security-related issues which need to be addressed very quickly, and this is where Avantra can help and automate this process. So first, defining by observe, figuring out which system is affected, and then acting and providing the automation to deploy a patch or something. Now, if you look at, I'm really very proud of these numbers here. So 25% average savings in ROI, in savings in SAP operational costs, and 71% average time task reduction achieved per person after implementing Avantra. We can really be proud on this number. And 250 million landscape management observation and action performed by Avantra every day throughout our customer landscapes, of course, right? And for every 3 full-time employees, 2 can be released from critical and low-value SAP Ops management. Yeah. We sometimes hear, and it was already some years ago, right, where we even not yet had all these automation in our product portfolio. I was hearing from a customer, Avantra is our 5th team member, right? What better feedback can you get from a customer? And as I said, this is already quite some years ago. I like this slide very much because it shows some interesting math, right? You take 1% better every day, and you put this to the power of 365 days, and suddenly you see by multiplication, right, 70 times better at the end of the year if you only do 1% better each day, right? And on the right hand side, you see what's changing. Low value is on the upper side, and high value is in the lower side, right? So, and this moves these drag moves then down to higher value tasks, right? Okay, how are we doing this, right? How is Avantra helping? And we are turning the SAP landscapes into accelerated hyperflows. A little bit much information here. So we are releasing drag. By this, we're generating time savings. We create flow. So you can then use this time and invest in more automation. By doing this, you can grow your business acceleration. And at the end, you achieve this hyperflow. And we believe that the foundation is where you need to start your journey. right? Okay, so creating hyperflow for SAP environments with Avantra, automate efficiently, transform faster, and this will then create this advantage. You can read this later a little bit in more detail, because I want to show this one here, right? This maybe to me the most important slide in this presentation. Where is Avantra? Avantra is at the foundation level, right? Where you have a lot of work to do in keeping the lights on, in patching, in maintaining all these kind of things. And this is where we take away this work. And that's why we believe we are enabling your hyper automation success. So we are creating the flow that you are able to create hyper automation. So the automation foundation is what we provide here. Up level above will be fully automated, right? This is something which is done with other products. As I said in the introduction, there's no one size fits all. You definitely need several products here which work together. Good. Let me quickly move on. Avantra. So what are we doing with our product in 22 and beyond? Automation is one of the big topics here. At Avantra as well, we're working on a new user experience. I told you about this virtual assistant, for example. Scalability is something we have seen is important for us as well, especially when you do these automations. At scalability, we as well understand that we give the customers as well tools to fix the issues. Automation is something complex, right? So not every automation is working right away. Therefore, scalability is important here. And we've just returned from the German SAP Users Group exhibition in Düsseldorf. And at the booth, it was incredible how many people arrived us with, can you automate, for example, security, auditing, and things like that. That's pretty common question we see right now. So we have a quite a focus on this area as well. So here's some planned automations for SAP we are going to deliver. All these updates, I will not go into the detail here. Then SAP system refresh is a very common thing requested by our customers. And we will continue on this journey. Certainly our enterprise edition, by the way, is required for this. And our product direction is clearly, we see the move to the cloud. At DSAC and our German Users Group exhibition was announced that SAP is now making 1 billion profit with the business technology platform. And certainly people are interested in how can we create a holistic view from especially in hybrid environments where we have on-premise innovations to the cloud. We hear this mantra since quite some years. How can we make sure that we have a single point of view here, right? And we do believe that providing some low-code, no-code extensions to work with SAP APIs, especially with the SAP Business Hub, is a very cool functionality to get to this single point, to this holistic single point view, right? Our virtual system, I've mentioned this before, system and landscape health, different views, different answers, right? From performance point is good, but not security. You might want to look at this. And as always, more and deeper integrations, especially to other automation platforms, most notably Ansible. Avantra doesn't want to reinvent the wheel for a lot of stuff people have already solved in other platforms. Therefore, we're looking into how we can better and much easier integrate with other platforms which are out there. Okay, I'm at the end of my presentation today. I thank you all for listening. Are there any questions out there? You can simply use your chat to ask questions right away, and I'll give my very best to answer them. Oh, I just got the message we can't ask questions right now. you've got to email us or via our website. Thanks. Thanks for assistance. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you all, and have a good remaining day or a nice evening. Bye-bye.